Hello, welcome to this session on continuity and differentiability. I am Rahul from MySlate. And if you remember, in the previous session, we discussed the topic of continuity. And in this particular session, we will move on and look at the concept of derivative, how to find derivative of function, and this notion of differentiability. But first, for a couple of minutes, let me kind of summarize the concept of continuity. We had seen in the last session that how do we find whether a function is continuous or not. Now look at these 6 graphs here. The graphs on the top, they represent continuous functions at all the points. And as a test, consider any random point x equal to c, and the first thing to check is whether the function is defined at x equal to c. So here the function does take a value x equal to c, which is somewhere here. And the second thing to check is as we approach x equal to c from either the left hand side or from the right hand side, what is the value that the function seems to approach as we approach x equal to c from the left and the right hand side, and whether they approach the same value, and if that same value is the value that the function takes at x equal to c. If these conditions are met, then the function is continuous, and we see that that condition is indeed met for the top 3 functions at x equal to c, right? Whereas if you look at these bottom 3 functions, we see that one of those conditions is violated. In the bottom left graph, for example, as we approach x equal to c from the left hand side or from the right hand side, we see that the function does seem to approach a common value. So its limit does exist. And that is what is written here, but we see that the function itself is not defined at x equal to c. It does not take any value. So that condition is violated. If you look at this middle graph at the bottom, when you approach x equal to c from the left or from the right hand side, the function itself seems to approach 2 different values at x equal to c, and therefore we say that the function limit of the function itself is not defined at x equal to c. In the bottom right graph, again the function limit seems to exist as we approach x equal to c from the left hand side or from the right hand side. The function value seems to approach a common value, and therefore the limit of the function seems to exist, but the function value itself takes a different value than what it seems to approach. So while the limit exists, that limit is not equal to the value of the function at x equal to c, and therefore we say that the function is not continuous. And just as another example, look at these 3 functions defined here. The difference is that in the first case on the left hand side, the function is defined at all points including x equal to 0. And by looking at this graph, it is obvious that at every other point except x equal to 0, the function is obviously continuous because it has a smooth shape. So all that we need to check is whether it is continuous at x equal to 0 or not. And to do that, we apply the same tests. We see that the function does take a value at x equal to 0, which is 0, and the limit of the function as x approaches 0 also is the same value, which is 0. And we can see that from the graph as well. As we approach x equal to 0 from the left hand side and from the right hand side, the function value seems to approach 0, which is the value of the function at x equal to 0. Whereas in these other graphs, they are not continuous because in this middle graph the function itself is not defined at x equal to 0, and that you see by this small hole that we have drawn in this on this curve, and you can see that also from the way we have defined its mathematical expression. It is not defined at x equal to 0. So there is no question of it being continuous there, right? Whereas on the top right graph, the function is defined at x equal to 0, but it takes a different value, which is 1 at x equal to 0, than the value that it seems to approach as a limit as x approaches 0, which is the value 0. So these two are not equal, and therefore it is not continuous. Now finally, if a complicated looking mathematical expressions are given for a particular function as shown in this example, then how do we check for continuity? Here it is difficult to draw a neat graph, and therefore what one needs to keep in mind is that for very familiar kind of expressions like polynomial expressions, trigonometric expressions, the functions are continuous in their domain. By domain we mean the points on the x-axis where the function is defined, right? So for example, look at this mathematical expression here. So it uses trigonometric expressions. So all that you need to check is the points where denominator might take a value of 0 in this interval. And if you look at this interval, it doesn't contain the point 0 and or pi by 2, right? It contains all the points between those two ends. And cos x doesn't become 0 at in this interval. So this function is defined, and it would be continuous in this interval. If you look at this bottom expression, again the same thing applies, that for values of x greater than pi by 2, not equal to pi by 2, this denominator doesn't become 0, and therefore this function would be continuous in this interval, and it would be defined. And at x equal to pi by 2, it takes a constant value, which means that it is defined and continuous just within this interval. So therefore all that you need to check is as this function as a whole, is it continuous or not at point x equal to pi by 2. Because while it takes a value of 1 by 2 at that value of x, we need to check whether its limit as we approach x equal to pi by 2 from the left hand side, which is the expression that it takes there, and the limit as we approach x equal to pi by 2 from the right hand side, which is when it takes this particular expression, do those two limits approach the same value that it takes at x equal to pi by 2, and that value is 1 by 2. If it does, then this function would be continuous, right? So we need to test for those limits. And finally, to wrap up this topic on continuity, let us revise once again that if two functions f and g are continuous at a particular point c in their domain, then so would be the function f plus g, f minus g, f multiplied by g, f divided by g, provided g value of g at c is not 0, 1 divided by g, provided again that the denominator is not 0 at x equal to c, a constant k multiplied by the function f or the function g would be continuous at x equal to c. The negative of the function would be continuous, and the composite of two functions f of g would be continuous at x equal to c, provided it is defined. And we had looked at some examples of this in the previous session. Now in this session we will move on, and first we will try to understand the notion of derivative. And to do that, look at this graph of a function that is shown here, and let us say that we are interested in finding the derivative of this function at this point x equal to e, that is shown here. Okay. Now the derivative is defined as the instantaneous change in the value of a function per unit change in x. Okay. And what do we mean by instantaneous change? So what we mean is that when x changes infinitesimally around e, right, infinitesimally implies very small change in x, then what is the small change in f per unit change in x at that point e, right? That is how we define the derivative, right? So it is a limit of this quotient delta fx by delta x, right? So the rate of change in x f per unit rate of change in x while we are at x equal to e, and the limit of that as the delta x approaches 0, that is we are talking of very small change in x, and that is nothing but the slope of this tangent that we would draw on this curve at point x equal to e. So this boils down to finding the slope of the tangent. So how do we do that? So one way to do that is, and that's how we'll understand this definition, is to take two distinct points, let's say a and b, on either side of e, and let's assume that they are equidistant from e, and let's try to find the slope of this secant that we have drawn here, right? So this secant connects the points a and b, and a is the point on the curve. It represents the value that the function takes at x equal to small a, and capital B represents the point on the curve, and that is the value that the function takes, this value s here, when x equals b. And let us look at what is this delta f by delta x as x changes from a to b, right? And that is nothing but the slope of this secant, right? So delta f is s minus r, right? That is the difference in the value that the function takes at point b and point a, and divide that by this increment, this delta on the x axis, which is b minus a, right? So this would be called the average change in the value of f with respect to x when x changes from a to b, Why average? Because b minus a is a distinct finite increment along the x-axis, and we are measuring the change in the value of f per unit change in x. So, in that sense it is the average. Now, the slope of this second AB, does that approximate the slope of the tangent to the curve at E, at point E? Well, maybe or maybe not. That depends on the exact shape this function takes at around point x equal to E. So, so a better estimate of this slope of this tangent at x equal to E would be if we take the points on the left and to the right of E which are closer to E. So, let us kind of move closer to E. So, from A we look at this point C now, and from B we move leftwards towards E and look at this point D, right. So, instead of A to B, look at the increment on the x axis from C to D, right. So, here we have come closer to the point E, and we are looking at these points capital C and capital D now on the curve, and those are the values that the function takes at C and D. Those are the values T and U here, and if we look at this delta f by delta x as x changes from D to C, we would come to this another coefficient, which is U minus T by D minus C. That is the difference on the y axis and divided by difference on the x axis. That would be the slope of this second CD, right, and that would be the average change in f with respect to x when x changes from C to D, right. So by this logic, you keep coming closer to the point x equal to E, that is, you keep narrowing this interval, right, move further close to this point x equal to E, and keep finding the slope of these seconds that you get on this graph, and as you come closer and closer to the extent that delta x tends to 0 around x equal to E. So, think of a very small interval around x equal to E such that we can say that this delta x tends to 0, this delta x tends to 0, then the slope of the second that we would see would approach the slope of this tangent here that we have drawn at the point x equal to E. So, this is the slope of the tangent, and this is how we define the derivative of a function. So, mathematically we express it like this. So, look at this definition here. So, think of a point E plus h by 2. This is a point slightly to the right of x equal to E. So, it could represent this point here, and think of a point slightly to the left of E, that is E minus h by 2. This could be the point here. So, the gap here between these 2 points is delta x, which would be h, right, because we are h by 2 on either side of E. So, the total increment is h that we are talking about, right. So, what would be the rate of change of f with respect to the rate of change of x? That would be delta f divided by h. H is delta x here, and take the limit of that as h tends to 0. So, this is how we have defined the slope of this tangent at x equal to E, which is the derivative of f with respect to x at this point x equal to E. And instead of, since this interval delta x equal to h tends to 0, it is infinitesimally small. So, instead of going from the left hand side to the right hand side, you could actually think of an equally small interval and move from right from point E rightwards to point E plus h. So, since h is very small, it tends to 0. So, it does not really matter whether we move from E minus h by 2 to E plus h by 2, or whether we move from E to E plus h, right. It should give the same estimate since h tends to 0, right. So, probably a simpler way of writing that is this, right, this is nothing but the value of f at E plus h minus the value of f at E divided by h, and the limit of that as h tends to 0. And this is what is defined as df by dx. This is how it is written at x equal to E. This is how the derivative of the function at with respect to x at a particular value x equal to E is written. And in this symbol df by dx, it automatically implies that we are talking of a very small increment on the x axis around the point E. so that that increment tends to 0. And as we have already said, this is nothing but the slope of the tangent.